Hello everyone, this is Renier. Right now recording from Spain. Alright, the game we're going to see today was played recently by English Grandmaster Michael Adams against M-Ehlvest. It was played in the World Open and it's very interesting. It's a Sicilian e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6. Strange decision by M-Ehlvest. I'm not exactly sure what variation was he planning to play against d4, but knowing that Adams never plays d4 in this position, probably he was actually wanting to play against bishop b5. That's my idea of this game. I think black, because Ehlvest usually plays, if he plays the Sicilian, usually goes for Schwenningen or Najdorf. But with knight c6 I'm not really sure what he was expecting, but probably he wanted to play bishop b5. Okay, this is I'm telling you this because if you saw my video not so long ago explaining the game between Bologan and Salgado, game that we're going to mention later, you'll know what I'm talking about, and that's the line. The line played in that game is the one that we're going to see today. It's a line that was first played by Giulio Granda in the Bled Olympiad. Alright, and probably black, M-Ehlvest, a very experienced grandmaster, felt confident about black's position. However, the game developed in a very interesting way. Okay, bishop takes e6, b takes e6. This is a new trend, and that is gaining even more followers now. Okay, b takes e6, castle, bishop g7, rook e1. This is the move, famous move from the games Fischer-Spassky. Spassky played e5 in this position, to which Fischer played b4. And okay, most people know what happened in that game already. Okay, but the latest trend is knight h6. Okay, knight h6 with the idea of f6, knight f7, c3, castle, d4, and now black, of course, he can take on d4, but then this allows white to develop freely, because the knight immediately goes to c3 afterwards, b3, bishop b2 or bishop e3, and white's position is slightly better. But the latest move is queen b6. This is the move I mentioned that it got my attention back in 2002 when I saw the game by Granda published in a magazine. The thing is that black doesn't let white develop so freely anymore. Now white really, what to do? He cannot play bishop e3, an useful move like h3, but black may just play f6 or d6 and things keep the same way for one more move. So probably what Adams played and what Bologan played is perhaps the best solution. Bologan played h3 in this position, which is not a bad move, and I suggest that you look at my other video in this game. That game continued with f6, knight bd2, c takes d4, c takes d4, bishop a6, and now after knight b3, d6, bishop d2, knight f7, knight a5, white got nothing out of the opening. Actually, black's position was quite comfortable and threatening for white after e5, rook e3, rook c8, rook b3, queen d8. Somehow white doesn't have enough pressure in black's position. The two bishops, they count for something. At some point black can open the position with f5, and white doesn't have anything concrete. There are no concrete ideas in this position. He played rook c1, and after c5, d5, queen d7, it was some sort of King's Indian, and black developed a very strong initiative later. I suggest that you look at that video if you can. Alright, let's move back to the actual game. In the game, Adams played knight bd2. Alright, this is a good idea. Okay, of course black is not really taking on d4 because of knight c4 in the end, and the knight on h6 is also hanging. So in this position, probably I think it doesn't make any difference. Black sooner or later has to take on d4, and after c takes d4, of course taking d4 leads to knight c4 immediately doesn't really work because of bishop takes on f2, and if king f1, bishop a6, that's a good move. The knight on a6 cannot be taken, so because of the knight on c4. But anyway, after bishop takes d4, knight takes d4, queen takes, and now the queen moves somewhere, and white has some serious threats, queen e2 or queen c2, and white is threatening knight f3 with a very strong compensation for the darkest squares. I'm not okay, so obviously black is not inclined to take on d4, so he plays d6, and now Adams developing a more classical way. He goes b3 with the idea of bishop b2, f6, bishop b2, knight f7. This is all normal play for both sides. Black should develop later with bishop d7, rook a to c8, and rook f e8, or perhaps e5 at the right moment. Adams played the first new move of the game, which was rook c1. Natural move. Probably there is not a very strong preparation behind this move. It's just a natural developing move to the semi-open file. Okay, previously white went queen c2, and this is the danger in this position. This is what you have to understand. If you don't do clear stuff with white, yes, you have the center, but things can go against white very quickly. For example, let's take this game by Victor Lasnica, who had a very who's been a very strong player lately. He's increasing his rating, and he's a very good player in my opinion. He plays queen c2, bishop d7, rook d1, rook c8. Now what to do? You have the center, but d5 doesn't work, so he tries e5, and then bishop f5, queen c1. Black doesn't do anything. There are not many weaknesses, so he plays rook e8. So now white plays queen a1. When you have to play such moves, something is not going it's not going well, I think. Now black went bishop e6 with the idea of bishop d5, rook e2, bishop d5, rook e1, and after e6, which was a very good move. Now I think that white has to take on d6 no matter what, even though after knight takes, black's position is absolutely fine. He's going knight f5 then. He played h4, weakening his king side, queen d8, and now black is striking back. After knight e4, f5, good move, knight back to d2, d takes, a6. White has no plan. The rooks are double in this useless e file, and after rook e3, g5, black was already better. Alright, so obviously this game can be improved a lot, but what I mean is because I've been in the same situation, playing this opening, and I always find the line quite attractive for black because it's very solid, and you simply develop and wait to see what white does. So here Adams goes rook c1, and I think now black should play something like bishop d7, or perhaps bishop a6 as well is possible. Bishop d7 is a move. It's a possible move in this position. I mean, you're not doing much, but you want to play rook c8 and c5 or e5. Okay, in this game, I think well, e5 doesn't really work. After e5, black can move his bishop to f5 or to g4, for example. So Ehlvest played queen a6. After Ehlvest played queen a6, attacking a2, Adams defended with a3, and now black went bishop d7. Okay, so far so good. b4, queen b5. Now black is threatening a5, so white stops a5 with knight c4. Alright, this position, black, I think he's okay. I think he should play something like rook e8. This is a good move because in the event of e5, now black can play bishop e6 with a similar idea to the other game we saw in the previous note. Okay, the idea is bishop d5, and rook e8 you can see is necessary because now when white takes on f6 or d6, the bishop on e6 is protected. So e5 is not really threatening at this stage, so h3 is slightly better. But after rook c8, black has everything to play for. He can try for f5 in the future and again meet e5 with bishop e6, or he can even think about opening the position with c5. Okay, this is the way to play this position with black. Wait and prepare to counterattack white center. So Ehlvest played a5, which is an interesting move because, okay, white cannot take with the knight because knight takes a5, rook takes on a5, and the bishop on b2 is hanging. So okay, after almost the fourth move, b takes on a5. There is no other way to defend b4, and actually white doesn't want to defend that pawn because after a takes, that's a weak pawn. White will have 2 pawn islands and black only one. He would just go rook fb8 with a very strong pressure. I'm talking in general sense, like in the event of something like queen d2 was possible, for example. Just take and rook b8, even though rook a2 is very strong, but I mean, structurally speaking, black would be already better. So, okay, Adams took on a5, but this is the concrete position. Okay, d5 doesn't work because white can just take and knight b6, attacking the rook on a8 and the bishop on d7. But Ehlvest was counting on bishop g4, which apparently creates some threats, like knight g5, for example. Knight g5 is exploiting the pin on f3, and also if you look at the position, white has some hanging pieces. The knight on c4 is defending the pawn on a5 and also defending the bishop on b2. So it may be, at first sight, you may think that white's position is a little loose, and probably Ehlvest thought so, and that's why he went for this line. Bishop g4 perhaps was not the best in the event of what we're going to see, but rook fb8 was a little better, even though white keeps the advantage after bishop a1, bishop g4, h3, queen takes on f3. Okay, black is not lost, but he's worse. I mean, if a5 can be easily taken and white makes no concessions at all, then that move was a mistake. So after bishop g4, seeing that knight g5 is coming, also d5 is black's idea, exposing the knight on c4 and the bishop on b2, but Adams had everything under control and the variations are very instructive. He plays h3 now, bishop takes on f3, queen takes on f3, and now black plays d5, part of the plan. Now let's see what happens? White now plays a4. Very good move. Actually, very important move, because if queen takes on a4, knight b6 wins on the spot, or even it takes d5 first and knight b6, or it takes d5 and queen takes d5. The thing is that with a4, white is driving away the queen from the b file, and so there is no attack on the bishop on b2. So after a4, black went queen b7 is the only square where he can defend d5 and at the same time keep the attack on the bishop that is on b2. And now white simply takes on d5, c takes d5, and the pawn on d5 is on their pin. However, black is threatening knight g5 followed by d takes c4. The position is, it seems a little bit complicated. I mean, white had to calculate this beforehand, and he had to see this next move that practically finishes the game. He played bishop a3, very strong move with an attack on e7 and getting out of the b file. Black played knight g5, obviously, and now queen e2, another nice move. The knight on c4 is left there. Black can take it, even though it's not really satisfactory for him. Ehlvest didn't take the knight. He played rook e8, but we're going to analyze what happens if black takes on c4. After d takes c4, white's idea is simply to capture back, and then if king h8 in this position, white will simply capture on e7. There are not many squares for the queen. Queen a6, and now h4. This is a key move in several variations of to make this work, because the knight has no ideal square now. He has to go back to f7, but first he must take c4, back to f7, and now, okay, rook d7, a very nice move, attacking the rook on f8. The rook on f8 cannot move because then d7 hangs, and after rook d8, which might be a solution if white takes. Okay, white wins with several moves here too, but rook dc7 is the most exact, and with the a pawn and taking on f8, white is winning. On knight d6, rook c6, rook c4, c6 should win as well. Alright, so we can see that king h8 is not doesn't save black. And what else can he play? In case of rook f7, still white takes on e7, queen b8, and now another important move, a6. The idea of a6 is rook b7, for example. That's one plan. And now an h4, of course. After a6, if bishop f8, rook b7, queen d8, bishop takes f8, queen takes f8, and now another nice move, queen b3. Queen b3 is threatening h4 and rook c1 to c7. That's the thing. Rook takes on a6 is not possible because of rook b8. So king g7 is the only move, but again h4, and after the only move knight e4, white can take on f7, queen takes on f7, and now queen b7, threatening the rook and the knight on e4, and white wins. If queen takes b7, pawn takes b7, rook b8, rook c7 check, the king moves, then a5 and a6. This is a very nice variation. You can see how far Adam's intuition or Adam's calculation goes. Alright, so there is one more move in this position, e6. but again it doesn't change white's plan. Then after h4, knight f7, white takes on f8. This was the best for black, but still white retains a very comfortable advantage. Rook takes on e6, rook takes on a5, king g7, and rook f3. Okay, he has 3 pawns for and a rook for 2 pieces, so I think it's out of question that white has the advantage. Okay, there is one more move that black could play instead of taking on c4 or playing rook e8 like in the game. That move is queen b3 with an eye on a3 and c4 again. Fortunately for white, he has knight b6, and after queen takes on a3 he can take on a8, and after rook takes on a8, this is another critical position because white only has one move that gives him a large advantage. This would be unclear, for example, if you take on e7, after queen takes, rook takes, bishop f8, and rook takes on a5, white has nothing clear. I mean, probably he's not even better. But white has a very strong move here, that is queen b5. Very strong, and he's threatening queen b7 and queen takes d5. That's one of the ideas. Now if e6, he goes queen b7, and black cannot take on a5 because of h4, and the knight has no square to go. Also, there are many tactical ideas like queen c8 or rook c8, and if knight f7, rook c7, and white wins. And if rook e8 after queen b7, then white simply goes a6, and the a pawn decides. Black can never take on a4 or try to stop the a pawn because rook a1 and simply promotes. Alright, so M-Ehlvest. For M-Ehlvest here things are already gone wrong, and probably there is no solution to this position. He played rook e8, which is the lesser evil, defending e7, but then white played h4. Another possibility was to play knight b6, and after rook takes on a5, rook b1. Okay, still white keeps a very comfortable advantage. I mean, he's playing knight c4 on this move, so black should play queen c6, and now after rook b5, black is going to lose material. Rook takes b5 is forced, queen takes, pawn takes, e7 and d5 are both hanging. So rook b8, best move to capture the more the post pawn on b5, and after knight takes, rook takes b5, knight e7, king f7. This is probably better for white. He has an extra pawn, but it's less clear. I mean, I think that white has a clear advantage, but how to transform it is far from easy. Okay, Adams plays the simple chess that he's famous for. He plays h4, and now M-Ehlvest play knight f7. The only question is if knight e4 was any better, but no. After f3, e6, knight b6. This is the simplest. Rook takes on a5, queen b2, defending the knight on b6. Now the knight on e4, if you look at it, has no real square except g3, but then queen b4 attacking the rook on a5, and after rook a6, white has the very strong rook takes on e6, sacrificing the rook to expose the back rank Then after rook takes, rook c8, white wins. Bishop f8 doesn't work, or king f7, rook f8 wins. So, alright, also rook takes on a5, I mean, instead of knight b6, f takes on e4 is also better for white, but less clear. Again, d takes e4, rook takes e4, rook takes on a5, bishop c5. White has an extra pawn, but this is less clear, as there is no threat over the king or the king side. Okay, instead of e6, there is another move that black could try in this position, that was bishop a6. But this doesn't really work. I mean, white goes rook c2, and after queen b3 he takes on e4, d takes e4, and now things are even worse because the queens are off the board. Perhaps this was the best, but I mean, against a player like Michael Adams is possibly losing easily. So I mean, move like king f2, and white is clearly better. But this is okay, better than the game. Alright, after h4, knight f7, white goes rook b1, queen a6, and now knight b6, attacking the rook on a8 and forcing the trade of queens, which will leave the black pawns on d5 and e7 hanging. Queen takes on e2, rook takes on a5, rook takes on e7, rook takes, bishop takes, and now bishop f8 is pretty much forced what to do. White is threatening, I think, rook c1 or rook b5, even better, something like rook b5, forcing the trade of rook or taking d5. Alright, black went bishop f8, and after bishop takes on f6, knight d6, knight d7, the idea of rook b8, bishop g7, bishop takes, king takes, and now rook b4. In this position, Ehlvest decided to resign. Yeah, he's down 2 pawns, and he's playing a very, very strong player, so he's had enough. Alright, it's not a very brilliant game, but since I mentioned this line in a previous video and it was catching up, I wanted to see the new developments, and that's why I analyzed this game for you. Any comments or suggestions, leave it in the forum. Also, if you follow my videos, you may have seen that I always choose some openings, especially Sicilian's variation, King's India, and Rosolimo. But if you want to see other openings, feel free to suggest. Okay, thanks for watching. This is Renier. Bye bye.